Everybody, it's your buddy Tommy D, nonprofit sector connector, philanthropy and focus, Vanguard benefits. We've been doing these nonprofit roundtables with Christine Deska now for a number of years. I guess it's probably 5 years with that COVID years in the middle. I sort of lose track, but in person, out of person, on Zoom, that's how we're doing them now. Today, we have a special opportunity. We have the team from leadership team from the Spirit of Huntington Art Center, the Spirit of Huntington Art Center. I'm a board member at Spirit of Huntington. I originally found out about the Spirit of Huntington through our family foundation, the Lindy Lou Foundation. That's when I first met Executive Director Michael Kitakis. I'll say a joke. I always find out when you have a check for somebody, it's a great way to make a friend. And I had a check from the Lindy Lou Foundation and a donation for the Spirit of Huntington Art Center. And I called some guy and I was like, dude, I got a check for you. Can I come by? And ever since we've become friends, and now I'm on the board, and they are very, very special. I'll let them tell you about the organization when I finish introducing them. But I'm going to read a little background. They're going to talk to us about branding today and the importance of branding. They're going to talk about optimizing your website, your overall online presence, enhancing the nonprofit's digital marketing strategy, and also new approaches to digital fundraising. That's some of the stuff but I'll let Michael introduce the organization in a second. But before becoming executive director, Michael Kitakis owned a marketing agency here on Long Island for over 20 years and has been in the marketing and advertising field since 1984. He serves on the board of Women and Men Against Prostate Cancer and is a member of the Rise in Spirit board of directors, and he loves creativity. If you hang out with this guy, he's always coming up with creative ideas. I love hanging out with him, and I'm excited for Michael to be here. So good morning, Michael. Before I introduce James, good morning.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Welcome. Glad you're here. James Young is with us, who's the creative director, and I will tell you personally, I work with James because my agency, Vanguard Benefits, is a client of the Spirit of Huntington Art Center. So I get to work with James and his team on the creative side. They just redid our website, mission, vision, value, the whole thing. So super excited to be friends with James. And, on a personal note, James has at least one musical project going on, right? And he's going to be performing at the Best Buddies Friendship Walk here on Long Island in a couple of weeks. So could tell you more about that. But he graduated from SUNY Purchase in Harrison, New York, with a bachelor's of arts degree in psychology and a minor in media studies in May of 2018. Though he majored in psychology, out of the interest in the subject and his drive to further his research and understanding mental health, he found that over the years, his calling lied more in the arts, particularly digital design and music production, which is going to tell a lot of stories into the Artworks program and really the agency model that the organization provides. So my colleague and partner in this project, Christine Deska, mentioned that social enterprise angle of what Spirit is doing, and really thinking in terms of, yes, we are businesses as nonprofits, and there are services and or products that we could provide. So I think we'll get into some of that today. Really, without further ado, Christine Deska, did you want to just say hello or anything like that before we let James and Michael get going?
Just thanks to everyone for joining us, staying within the Roundtable family. We really are a family now, and we are so excited to learn about what's going on at the Spirit of Huntington. Welcome, guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Christine. All right, I'm going to just get out of the way and let James and Michael take it from here, please, gentlemen.
Hey, welcome, everyone. Thank you for letting us share a little bit about what we do at the Spirit of Huntington Art Center, and sharing a little bit about our topic today, which is about brand. I think it's pretty exciting because, a lot of people have an idea what brand is, right? And what brand isn't. It's funny, if you look up the definition of brand, you get about 1,000. It's not even an easy thing to define. This is how, Investopedia identified it as a name, a symbol, or a marker that distinguishes a business from its competitors. Again, I think in the idea of brand, it is a lot of things, right? This is another slide that we've used, which is it a logo? Is it a design? Is it an identity? Is it advertising? Is it marketing? Is it strategy? In the short answer, I will tell you it's everything from the cradle to the grave of every business. And I think people don't really define it well, or don't even embrace it, but it is what you do and how you do it. And those are the things that we wanted to share with you today. We got some good examples. I mean, brand is our life, and it's everything that we are about in today's society. And you can't go very far in 2 seconds of not hearing a slogan or not hearing or seeing a logo and thinking about brand. Brand essence is that feeling of the whole company, what it's really, really about, what makes it tick. And, we like to play a little game. James threw a couple, I think, slides up there, right, James? You got a couple on here?
Yeah, that's me. All right. So just really quickly, a little bit of background. So right now we're talking about taglines, which is always an essential part of a brand. Like if you have a good tagline, that's going to enhance the brand as much as it possibly can. So what I want to do really quickly, just as a semi icebreaker, is just introduce some taglines to you and see if you know which company they belong to. We'll start out with the easy ones and then get a little bit harder as we go. So let's start out with I'm loving it. If you know who that tagline belongs to, just unmute and shout it out. Who do we got? So close, Tommy. So close.
Close, Tommy.
Isn't it McDonald's?
Yeah,
There you go.
See, that wasn't a hard one.
Classic tagline. All right.
How about this one?
Still in the easy realm, but who do we got?
Nike.
Yeah,
Nice.
there you go.
Nike. There we go. Good.
There's that one. All right. How about this one?
Very cool.
A little harder, maybe.
Yeah.
Go further.
Go further.
Subaru.
Close.
Oh,
Very
it's
close.
hard.
That's actually Ford right there. Yeah.
That's your cars, though. At least you're in that right genre.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go, Tommy. What is
Mercedes.
it?
There it is.
Yeah. And especially with those new commercials, like it's even more ingrained.
This might be a little harder.
Okay.
Open happiness.
Yeah. The open is your clue right there. Something you open.
Hallmark. Oh,
Ah.
really?
Oh, I know what you mean. Like a card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
How about this one?
All right, here we go.
Let's go places. It's funny because everyone and taglines and brands evolve too. So even things have changed over the years on certain ones. I mean, this is probably one of the most iconic, at least if you're in the graphic design.
That's Apple or no?
Yeah.
Think different. Yeah.
But that really defined. I'll never forget somebody. It was an old mentor of mine said, if you're going to really identify brand, here's a simple way. Let's say someone invited you to an Apple party in California. Go into that company party. What do you think you're going to feel? What do you think it's going to look like? What do you think they're going to play for music? What kind of food? Like the brand is so strong, you can almost get that feeling. If it's all going to be clean and white and techie and feeling, that's the power of brand. That's the power of these things. And a lot of times it starts with logos, right, James? Everyone wants
All
to
the time it starts with logos. Yeah.
Funny because we like a lot of logos for a lot of reasons, but we had to share some like iconic ones because there's a lot of really famous logos that have, some hidden meanings in it. I don't know if anyone knows this Spartan one, but James, what do you see in this one right here?
Oh, so this one's cool. And I actually dropped the hint lower at the bottom. But yeah, so Spartan Golf Club. So they're tying in the Spartan theme with golf. So if you look at this logo right over here, you got the profile of the Spartan. You could kind of see like his eyes, his nose, from the side. But it's also, like the strength meter from like the golf club, right? So you have two different things that are coming in at one time. So what we teach people here at our agency is to not to take from Apple, but to think differently, thinking outside the box. Like anybody could just like make a logo, a very simple design, but if you could give it some meaning, or better yet, a hidden meaning, like some of the logos we're about to show you, like that's truly a home run. So we'll get into some of that. Tour de France, another very well-known logo. Not sure if you've noticed, some people have seen this logo before. If you look at the letters O, U, and R in the word tour, it creates the shape of a person on their bike, a cyclist. And the orange circle is supposed to represent the front wheel. So they kind of use the R, the person bending over to, get on the bike. So that's another good example. And then this isn't really a well-known brand, but another cool one that I was able to find, Yoga Australia. So I don't know much about yoga, but I know this is probably some pose that they do in yoga. Anyway, so if you look at this, you could actually see the shape of Australia between the leg and the arm in this silhouette. So another really cool example. And now we're going to get into some logos that everybody knows. So me and Michael used to do this for one of our art classes back in the day on logo design and all that kind of stuff. So if you notice in the FedEx logo, if you look between the E and the X, the two orange letters, you actually see an arrow. A lot of people know that, but some people don't. So there is an arrow pointing to the right in the FedEx logo. And the last logo that I want to show everybody today, everybody uses Amazon. You'll notice, so everybody knows the iconic arrow, especially with like Amazon Prime being like a real thing these days. But the arrow points from an A to a Z, right? So Amazon has it all from A to Z. And the arrow is also representative of a smile. Amazon Smiles, which is like their nonprofit hub. So as you could see, like there is a lot of thought put into these logos, as simple and as minimalistic as some of the designs may be.
So, we are the Spirit of Huntington Art Center, and we have our logo and our flame that, talks about the spirit. And, our tagline is based from a Van Gogh quote of nothing more artistic than to love one another. And we all are all about love and support. And just a 2-second background, we actually started over 12 years ago in a little garage with 3 students. James was actually one of those students in that little garage many years ago on 45 AM Park. Founded by Eric Price. He's an amazing artist who's overcome a lot of his challenges through art. Today, we just purchased the old library in South Huntington about 6 months ago. We're now from 3 students. Now we have over 500 going through our organization each week. So it's been an amazing transformation. And we've actually created now a whole complete community art center called Rise in Spirit Community Art Center. We were able to collaborate with a couple other not-for-profits, including Rise Life Services, to bring together a community of great organizations that are here to help and collaborate for education, vocation, and recreation for our community's rich, population. So we are about diversity, inclusion. We jokingly say all ages, all abilities, all welcome into the Community Arts Center. So we have everything, from individual classes, day programs, groups of students that come in. And it's been an amazing anchor for cultural and art and all about personal expression. So we have 3 things at the Community Arts Center. We have education, which is the art, the sculpture, and the music classes. The vocation, which we're going to be talking a lot today, that's our digital arts program. James runs the Artworks program, both for education and like we call it, the academy, as well as the agency, which has been really exciting to work with. We also have recreation, yoga, dance, life skills. But today we're going to be talking about the academy. It's a thing that Tommy really bought into as well. He sees the value of it. There's a lot of individuals that we work with in the high school level, and not everyone's ready to go out to college. We've been able to kind of pull in a great group who come in and take our programs. Their class, digital art classes. It was designed and developed by a professor at LIU who took out the history, math, and science out of that program and created a graphic design program. And it's been a lot of excitement and fun training and working with our population. Artworks Academy really is trying to help, obviously pre-vocation more than the actual vocational training, but I'll argue that our vocation program is as strong as any college program. They do realize that there's jobs in here, everything from a designer to a web guy to a game designer. And we've been able to really do experiential learning. This is the key for everything. It's showing them that they can get a degree in advertising and freelance and illustration and graphic design without having to go to necessarily a college. So it is kind of like old school, training. They're actually in the classroom and they're working with also a lot of great clients. As Tommy just shared, including Vanguard, we work with Bayside, obviously Rise, Variety. These are all organizations that we do classes with as well at the Art Center. So it was an easy stretch to go back to those places that we're teaching at you know, or whether it's a cerebral palsy or it's a rise, and say, hey, who's doing your marketing and advertising? Who's working with your graphic designers? We have this amazing team of individuals that we think can help and support it. So our program started out with a couple kids. I think we're up to now almost 40 in the program. We've hired 6 to actually work with us on our accounts and grown. So it's been a great expansion and a great opportunity to work with a lot of great people. And the reason that we're excited to share with you, because this is the same kind of program that I used to pretty much run out of the advertising agency that James was interning all the way back in high school. So James has been on this track with me for many years, working on branding, which is always a first start in any type of communication. And that's kind of that, you know, what is your mission, vision, and value? What are you, and why do you do what you do? You can't just say it's just we want to make more money or have more success. We got to figure out the whys. Then once you kind of get that brand, we show companies how to build tools like websites and blogs and social media and email programs. That's kind of like the power. And then the last part is storytelling. Really, at the end of the day, everything on this is about storytelling. You know, brand is one big story that we do tell. And we try to tell it over the right channels at the right time to the right audience for the highest ROI. That's Artworks, that's the program, and it's the art and power of storytelling. So you're going to see us talk a lot about stories. James, where are you at on this? Are you
Yeah, so I actually get asked this question quite a bit, to be honest. I am on the cusp of the millennials and Gen Z. So I was born in 1996, which I think is like right between the two. But yeah, so if we're talking color wise, I'm between like the dark orange and the lighter orange.
Well, I'm all the way to the right on that Gen Xer. So, you know, here's the deal on this thing. I mean, what's really transposed lately is that the millennials are now the leading living group. So if you're not talking their language, then you really aren't thinking about your brand and what it should be said and what it should be doing. You know, a lot of companies kind of go their old school, or they'll tend to do things that make sense for them. And you got to remember, you got to put yourself a little bit in the position of a millennial in this case. They're the most conscious generation ever. They do make up most of the giving today and volunteering, and they really want to know the whys. They want to understand what you do and why you do it. They want to kind of get into this a little bit with companies, and they want to be able to identify, and that's important. So when we're trying to develop our brand, we always got to ask those questions of why. This is a guy whose name is Sendak, who really made this famous. It's the golden circle. You know, I don't go into this a lot with companies, but since we got 2 minutes to talk here, I am going to just tap into this, because a lot of people don't realize that our brain is getting bombarded every 2 seconds or 2.8 seconds with messaging. So we've developed filters as we have evolved. Just the way your brain is developed and the way that the different spheres like kind of take in that information is exactly why you got to get to the why. So if I tell you, hi, my name is Michael, I believe creative expression transforms lives. Wow. Why do you believe that? How does that happen? Well, we got this amazing program called Artworks, and we work with students with special needs and show them how they could do better communication, digital art. Wow, where's that at? Oh, that's at this place called the Spirit of Huntington Art Center, where I'm the creative director, or I'm the executive director. So either me and James can start there, and you never would get to the why. If you start to the why, people automatically open up. It's getting all the way to the heart of it. You know, that's why they say it's that gut feeling, right? It's that thing that goes right into you. So if you're able to communicate the why in business, just like you do when you meet someone, you're going to do great. If you start on the outside by saying, I'm the executive director at the Spirit of Huntington, my brain is already shut down. You know, so this is why we teach companies to think about that golden circle, to get to that core essence of why you do what you do, and making sure that we kind of explain it. You know, because it isn't, you can't just say it. You can't just tell me to feel it. You know, it's got to be true. You know, you really got to transcend what you do and what you're about. And if you don't, then people kind of know it's not really real. You know, if you get to the who you are, then those things really do get out there. Then you can start to build that brand advocacy. You can start to talk about your natural friends and connect with them. You know, if you're kind of just saying, oh, we're the fastest, the cheapest, or the smartest, and it really doesn't reflect who you are, then you're just kind of making it up, you know. So a lot of companies, and they do this a lot, and James and I work with companies on trying to figure out who they are. It's funny, a lot of people say, oh, we're the smart ones, and they have nothing to do with intelligence, or we're the cheapest one, and they're not. So we always tell all companies they got to start with their branding exercises. I don't care if you're a mom and pop pizzeria or a corporate 100, you need to start with who you are and what you are. So we actually do these programs and these classes where we huddle up with the team for a whole day and talk to them about some of the most basic stuff. James, you remember we did this for one? They couldn't even get their names right a lot of times.
One time, yeah.
I mean, you would think,
yeah. You'd be surprised. Some of these organizations that have been around for decades, they like don't agree on the name. Not necessarily like the big like part of the name, but like the community center part of the name. Like
Rise,
it always comes later
Rise.
on. Yeah. No. So
we're actually going to run you through Rises. It was one we recently did. It's good to kind of see how we did these branding exercises and why they're so important. You know, we even sat down with them, and this is right out of the slideshow, is okay, what is your name? That was screwed up in this case. Two, what are the brand colors? You know, they would think they would even know their own brand colors, but here's an example of this particular company. And again, I'm not making fun of Rise at all. Just happened to be one of the latest ones we did. And I don't care what company, they just don't even realize some of the basic stuff. So they couldn't even get their colors down pat of what they were. And they, you know, they had multiple colors in all fairness. This was their old logo. But we actually go back and even go further. We start doing projective exercises. We do SWOT analysis. We do all these great things to get them to really open up. One of these is projectives. Like, and this comes out with a lot of true telling signs of who they are and what they are. So in this case, it'd be like, you know, if you were a flower, what kind of flower would you be and why? And what happens is then all the team in this case share their answers. And you start to get the feeling of what this company's really about. Well, they're bright and they're tall and they got a lot of great colors and they're warm and they're happy. And, you know, so from this, we're able to pull a lot of our information out of these projective exercises, kind of put them together into a wordgram is what you would probably know, but we actually have a software that runs through that. And you're going to start getting some key words of who you are and what you are as a brand. And then you can formate or create that brand essence. You see, if an agency, or I don't care whoever's working on your branding, says, oh, I know what you should be and here's what you are, that's kind of not fair. You know, it's not really that guy or that agency's job to do that. It's to get all the information out of you as a company and then come up with this. And that's why these things work so well. So in this case, we came up with a community of services for a better life. And those are those key words. You know, from that, now you've got a brand essence. Now you can work into your mission, vision, and value. You can't just start writing a mission statement until you really know who you are and why you do what you do. So the mission statement is important. It really is the cornerstone, the foundation, right? It's that enduring statement of purpose. It's who you are, what makes you different. You know, a good mission statement will include the purpose and the values, what the organization wants to be, you know, what the primary clients or stakeholders are, and the responsibilities of the organization towards those clients. And that's really what a mission should, you know, kind of bring all together when you're doing a mission statement. In the case of Rise, we came up with that same brand essence, but we expanded on it. We make life better with a community of services to empower people of all abilities to rise to their full potential. And now you got something. Now you got a mission statement, you know, so it's easy to go from mission statement into the graphics and design. Everyone really wants to hurry up and run and jump and start doing logos, and that's not really brand. You know, it's got to make sure that that brand essence is in that logo and in that feeling. James, what did you do here with these colors? Like, you came up with some really cool ideas.
Yeah, so I mean, it all stems from the colors, and quite personally, as a designer who's been doing this since I want to say like 13 or 14 years old, I got an iMac for Christmas when I was like 11 or 12, and I just like, rather than using it to play like video games like other people my age, I was like trying to learn how to use like Photoshop and like Illustrator and all that kind of stuff, because that's where my interest lied. I wanted to like figure that out. So I've been doing this kind of stuff for a really long time, even though I went to school for something a little bit different. Like, like I've just been spending like all my free time, my idle time doing this kind of stuff. So over the years, one of my favorite things to do, like of all time, is just to come up with the colors for like a company. When I was in school, I learned about this thing called synesthesia, this concept slash phenomenon called synesthesia, where just by looking at words, you're able to come up with a color palette for something. So whenever I thought of Rise, I always saw orange and yellow and like maybe like a blue green, kind of like a teal. So personally for me, it's just trying to explain what's going on in my mind and get it onto, in this case it wouldn't be a canvas, but like, you know, a PowerPoint presentation or onto like the screen or something like that. So just by looking at the words Rise Life Services, I'm already thinking of like what colors that I could envision this brand becoming at some point. So orange was a good way to go. To me, that's representative of healing. You know, when I think of the word rise, I think of sunrise. So you got to get some yellows in there somewhere to kind of represent the sun. Green for nature. They have a huge sensory garden thing that's now becoming a big staple of the company. And they do a lot of things in the art. And I thought blue was a good way to, or a good route to go with that. Blue also happens to be the color used for Autism Awareness Month. And a lot of individuals are on that neurodivergent spectrum who are clients of Rise. So there were a lot of different directions to go. So it was kind of up to me and the rest of my team to kind of like envision where we wanted to bring the brand. Go ahead.
Oh, that's great. And James is really talented on bringing out, you know, the true essence of a brand. But James, we always kind of go back to the arts, right? You know?
Yeah, so the great thing about working here in this program is that not only do we offer the pre-vocational design program, Artworks, which is on the second floor of our building, but on the first floor, we're always teaching classes. And we came up with this program about 10, 11 years ago called Artists Come Alive. And it's a program, Michael, you might actually be able to go a little bit more into this, but it's a program where we learn about a different artist each week, a different visual artist. So right now we're talking about Vassarelli. He was an optical artist. If you've ever heard of op art, it's like you look at something and it looks like it's moving on the screen. But we learn about Frida Kahlo, Van Gogh, Matisse, Claude Monet, all these different renowned artists over the years. And the idea is to create a project in their style. So the cool thing about the Artists Come Alive program is that I was able to, just by listening in on some of these classes, learn a little bit about these different artists. So the first route that I wanted to go was Vassarelli. Victor Vassarelli, I believe, who was an optical artist, and you saw some of his artwork on the previous slide. He was a contemporary artist that created mesmerize, and so that's one word for it, backgrounds and texture to all of his original hand-painted creations. So this stylized design added depth and patterns to any branded look. Op art, like we talked about, optical illusion type art, creates lines and gives it kind of like a retro look. So I wanted to experiment and try to see how I could tie some Vassarelli into one possible proposal for a new brand, a new look, so to speak. So my idea was to take his dots, his very well-known dots, and kind of create a little bit of a ghosted kind of texture to it. Now, Vassarelli didn't use a whole lot of like text or like actual words like in his image, so the rest was kind of up to me, but you could kind of see how even though it's subtle, we're kind of like incorporating one of the artists that I learned about back when I was in this Artists Come Alive program into like an actual brand itself. And the cool thing about this is that Rise also happens to be on us with classes. So they could look at the new brand and be like, hey, we learned about that guy. I know Vassarelli just by looking at this brand. So it was kind of up to me, and I had my team, my art director, Derek, help me put this flyer together, incorporating the new tagline, making life better, and just going for this new branded look, using their teals, using these oranges, which I envisioned in my brain. These are going to be like the new colors just because that's the way I see it. And just coming up with a new cohesive brand where Rise, we make life better, and these are our services at the bottom.
Now, what we're trying to do is get a couple ideas going. So you're going to see that we actually did 3 ideas based from one of the exercises. I don't mean to cut this one short, but James, can you take over that PowerPoint? My computer's just wonking out a little bit on me right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. Hold on one second.
I apologize. My computer's been a little wonked, but I'm actually at one of those art shows right now in New Jersey, and I'm going to now present to 150 little kids about all the great artists. So I'm going to turn this over to James. He's going to walk you through this rest of this example, and then he's got a lot of great ideas to share with you at the end. I don't mean to cut you guys short, but I just got to go run and finish up my art show in New Jersey that I'm at right now. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to type my info. If you need anything from me, please don't be hesitate to reach out and talk. I love chatting. I'm like Tommy. I'm all over the chat and talking, and would love to share with you. But you're in good hands here. James is going to finish this out for you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all your opportunities to share a little bit. All right, James. I'm sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. All right. So we talked a little bit about Vasarely. Now we're going to get into another man called Peter Max. He was a concept artist who used a lot of different colors, a lot of different designs. He had a big focus on suns and doves as part of his imagery. So thinking about sunrise, thinking about the sun as the new direction for the brand, I was able to kind of like experiment with the style of Peter Max, which you'll see in a little bit. So a little bit of background on Peter Max. He was a contemporary pop artist that created iconic modern day images that transcend the 1960s. So his work was very prominent throughout the 1960s and was inspired by that time period. So the play on the rays of hope that pushed the feel of rise as light is reinforced in this modern style of a brand with more sophisticated tones of colors, right? So we're getting a little bit more sophisticated than, and a little bit more detailed than the Vasarely example. Options of the sun alone, or as an enlightened individual, can take the brand to an even higher level. So going into that brand idea about rise coming up, rise into a higher level, as we all shine on as an optional tagline. So we all shine on, that comes from the John Lennon song, I believe it's Instant Karma. So I wanted to tie a little bit of like what I knew about music and what I knew about Peter Max kind of into that brand as well. So as you can see here, this was kind of his style. If you're familiar with the Beatles, you know, like Yellow Submarine. I don't know if he was like the actual artist on that, but a lot of his work did inspire the artistic direction on that. So you've got everything from these bright colors to guitars, a lot of like musical themes, you know, the Statue of Liberty. So this is just a taste of some of Peter Max's art. You've probably seen it before in some sort of gallery. Anyway, the direction that we kind of wanted to take it, and this ended up being the winner for them. Option number 2 was Rise Life Services, kind of using those sun rays that you see over here and making it a little bit more of a simple logo. So the idea now, like especially with the logo design, is to kind of make it as simple as possible, you know, in the world of like, and the digital age of, you know, everybody's like using their phones, everybody's using like mobile, like tablets. You want to make your logos as simple as possible. So that when it shrinks down on a tiny phone screen like I have right here, you're still able to see all of the details. All of the details are still prominent. So anyway, I was kind of inspired by Peter Max to come up with the next proof, or well, that's a graphic design term, you know, with the sun and all that kind of stuff. And now option number 3, we have Keith Haring, who you're probably familiar with. He's a very well-known New York City-based artist who was known for this very cartoonish yet colorful style. And this one I really, really wanted to kind of go to town on. So this isn't the one that they ended up picking, but it's one of my personal favorites. You know, taking that idea of, you know, friendship and community, right? So community was kind of like the theme with Keith Haring. So as you see right over here, like there's different taglines that we came up with that all represent like the different artists. So my idea was to kind of take his very unique style and then bring it into a new kind of feel, right? So Rise Life Services now in the style of Keith Haring. And this logo can be reproduced in a way where the colors kind of like match. So this was my final example. or my final proof. The tagline that we came up with for the Keith Haring style logo was create in communities. So this is reinforced with Keith Haring being inspired by the graffiti style art backgrounds of love and peace to create an iconic brand. So color figures can create business centers and icons that we could all use for the different branding. So like our idea was to condense their company, have it come up with like a new brand, you know, like maybe the guy on top could be the services, you know, the guy in the middle, he could be like the day program, something like that. So, you know, once you bring a little bit of art and creativity into it, like you could really like kind of like figure out, you know, everybody's trying to go for like the most corporate look possible these days, the most professional look. But we figured Rise was like a little bit different. You know, they have a community and a client base who would definitely thrive for something a little bit more creative. So they ended up picking the Peter Max inspired image with the sun rays, or the not image but logo. And the cool thing about logos is that you have all these different variations, all these different revs we call it, where you could place them onto different backgrounds, and it kind of gives a different look to it, right? So logos also have like different implementations to them, so you could put them on a cool background, you know, with all those colors. And after we so phase one, right, when you sign on with Spirit of Huntington to like redo your brand, right, step one is always redoing the logo, right? Once you have a logo that everybody can agree with, that the board can agree with, all that kind of stuff, you're able to kind of take it from there. Yeah, like what could we do now that we have a new logo? I mean, the first step would be to update the website. You know, we got this brand, we got this new logo, but our website doesn't match that. So we come in and we go to town on it, right? So when it comes to websites, especially nowadays, you need something that's very simple, very user-friendly, yet powerful. So we're able to really turn your website into not just a website just to have it, but like a communication tool where all the stories and all the news, all the blogs are like feeding into this one hub, right? So we kind of think of a website as a hub in that way. So their old website looked a little bit like this. Nothing wrong with it, but again, just wasn't representative of the new brand that we came up with. And we turned it into something that looks a little bit like this. So as you can see right over here, another thing that's really important about a website is accessibility and user adaptation, user friendliness, all that kind of stuff. So you'll notice, like, even in the header menu, you got your about section, you got your services section, you got your food pantry, events, gallery, latest news, right? All these different things. So something that's important about our job too, especially when it comes to the website, is just to make things more user friendly. So we condensed the 11 items that they had on their menu down to just 7, right? Which isn't a huge difference, but it really makes a difference when you're trying to like go onto their website and just find something very simple. Of course, with nonprofits, it's important to receive donations, so we always make sure that that's a part of it. But now you got your social links up here, you have all the information that you need about where they are, and it all falls within that hook, look, and feel, right? The teals, the oranges that we came up with, it's all cohesive in the new website. The residence program is the backbone of this company, the workforce, and the impetus of change. They have a company culture that cares and creates employees that matter. I think Michael put that in there as a shout out to Tommy, and his tagline for Vanguard is a new tagline. Anyway, community built in starts with residents, right? So these are just some images just to give you a little bit of background on what Rise Life Services, the company that we branded, what they do, right? It's all about community. It's all about getting together. It's all about their programs and all that good stuff. So what we do is also what's called a SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, your obstacles, and your threats. So as you see, like, even though like it looks like such a simple change, you know, like colors, like brand, new fonts, new photos, all that kind of stuff, there is actually a lot of thought that comes into this, right? So where do we go from there? We updated the logo, we updated the website, you know, we do a SWOT analysis and we see what your strategic goals are. We see like where you go from here. So this is an example of some of the stuff that Rise was able to see, right? They have a lot of strengths, diversity, support, all that good stuff, right? Weaknesses, threats, opportunities. So what we came up with is that everybody here can make a difference. The spirit of change is its rise in spirit, right? So beyond doing the website, it comes into implementation, our communication tools, So we created a newsletter for the residents section of, or the residents area of Rise, just to keep them up to date, right? So after we do that, it's like, what's next? We could maintain your social media. We can come up with a newsletter that we send out weekly. There's a lot of different ways that we could still be involved with your company after we develop your brand and after we develop your website. So we came up with some cool ideas. Maybe we have a nurse of the month. Maybe we have a DSP or a direct service provider for the month. You know, some group activities all showcased within this newsletter that we send out every month, I believe. And then we go from there. We come up with some new stuff using that new brand. Rise is trying to do a training program called Rise University, which we rebranded to U Rise. You know, and the cool thing about logos, and especially with the stuff that we do, is we're able to like, you know, like show that in application, right? So, you know, everything from using the new brand, the new look, to come up with some new designs, you know, some new merch, all that kind of stuff. You know, I keep telling Michael we need like some Spirit of Huntington merch. You know, merch is like where it's at. Like if people like the way that the colors look and all that kind of stuff, then like you could definitely do a lot with your merchandise. They also came up with an SPP, or suicide prevention program, which we branded to Rise Above Suicide. They just announced the grand opening of that program, I think about a few weeks ago. So from everything from coming up with the new brand, we're able to implement that new brand into new applications and new programs that they're doing, right? So as you can see, these cohesive colors, which I just needed to get out of my brain, are able to exist or coexist in this new fashion, right? So from there, we do storytelling. You know, we came up with your new logo, we came up with your new brand. Storytelling refers to coming up with a content calendar each month of what stories need to be told. Michael always says around the wheel, it goes around the wheel. So the wheel that he's talking about is everything from your website to your Facebook to your Instagram to your LinkedIn, right? Just coming up with a few stories each month, 3 or 4 stories with a few passive posts here and there, just to get it all out onto a canvas and do your monthly storytelling. So after we do the website, we put up stories on the blog. Those stories on the blog go out on all your social media platforms. We might throw in a video here or there, all that good stuff. So it's everything from a content calendar to weekly social media posts to email newsletters we also do. And, you know, like, especially with Google Analytics being a really powerful tool these days, just like looking at statistics, seeing what worked, what didn't, kind of using that research to further our campaigns and come up with some new ones moving forward. So you can see right over here, they have like a new look to them, right? So we're able to like update their website with a new look and all that kind of stuff. And this goes back to what I was saying about the wheel. Here's an actual demonstration. I didn't realize it was in the presentation. So you got your brand, you got your story, and that story has to go on the website. It's got to go on Facebook, Twitter, email, blog, all that kind of stuff. So we're all about cohesion and synchronicity, which is the name of the program that Michael developed when he was at his marketing agency before he signed on with Spirit of Huntington full time. You know, using that new program to really come up with you know, something that's very cohesive. And then this is my final slide. You're making a difference by building a community of services and love. That is the last slide. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, that's all I got.
That's incredible, James. Let's give James a round of applause. Or even if you're muted, you can do a little round clap.
All right, I see the applause. That's good.
The visuals were so helpful to really tell the story of what you all do so well. I'd like to open it up for questions. We're running with such good time this morning, James. I don't know how you made it through all those beautiful slides so quickly, but without even feeling like you were rushing. You and Michael just get it done. Would anyone like to come off of mute and ask a question? We have a smaller group today, so we can kind of be more interactive.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that this, hello. This is perfect timing because I joined our organization because we are actually right in the process of looking at a rebrand, really kind of defining what the acronym means, because AABR actually kind of went the route of AHRC, which was like, let's be known by the acronym, because the original acronym was not something that, you know, you want to, not the language you want to use any longer. This was really great. And of course, I put in the chat, it's my favorite time period for art and design. So it really resonated with me. And
Absolutely.
I definitely want to connect offline about this. Just want to say really great job. I've sat in on a number of different webinars and presentations on this, and this was probably one of the best I've seen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm just looking back at the chat, AABR. I'm going to check out your website immediately after this. And
oh God, don't. No. We literally just moved servers because it was like taking like 2 to 3 minutes to load. It was full of WordPress plugins that were outdated. So, I've been hitting the ground running for the past 6 weeks. So,
Lynn,
would love to.
I had a fantastic meeting with Libby and Jamel over in your shop, and we talked a lot of this. Literally, I started typing a note, if you're still thinking of rebranding, please look at the Spirit of Huntington, it's a fellow nonprofit. So I'll send them a note as well. I'm so glad you're on to hear this also. I know that they're right to make this step because of all the things you mentioned. It's exciting. It really is. When you see the images, you can kind of visualize what it could be for your organization once you guys are ready,
We're ready. We are ready.
Their process isn't very painful. I'm sorry, James. Their process isn't painful. Their process sort of flows. They did the thing, I put it in the chat for the Bayside Business Association, and it was almost a fun process. So if you want to have a fun process, those are the guys.
It is very fun.
And I didn't get paid for that. I just
No, that's great. And just to say too, I am also from Queens. Grew up in Whitestone, lived in Bayside. The headquarters in ABR is in College Point. So, but now I'm in East Northport, so I'm closer to Spirit. So like it just all works. But
East Northport. Yeah, no, that's not far away. Yeah, I'm also from I'm from the Queens area, Floral Park, but my girlfriend does actually live in Bayside, so I'm over in Bayside all the time. So I'm really able to go to their events and like all that kind of stuff. Really get involved with the BBA, which happens to be one of the clients that Tommy's on the board for. Bayside Business Association. But yeah, working with them, I think that was actually like one of my personal favorite brands. So the color palette for that one, it's like a dark teal with the light yellow. If you check them out, Bayside Business Association, I think BaysideAssociation.com. That was another good example of like a brand that we were able to come up with. One of the key visuals from that was the Throgs Neck Bridge. So for those of you who are familiar with Bayside, you'll know that no matter where you are in Bayside, you're able to get a visual of the Throgs Neck Bridge, and that's kind of like a staple that brings you in and out of Bayside. So it was a cool kind of like experiment, and Ryan, who's actually one of our students in the Artworks education program, he was actually able to come up with the design that ended up getting approved for everybody. So I mean for the whole company. So that was fun. Yeah. So that was actually one of my favorite brands, John. And I know that you used to be on the board with them as well. So yeah, it was a fun process.
I had yeah.
Wonderful. Anyone else thinking of a question, whether it's for your own organization or just in general about branding? It's such a fascinating concept that we don't often kind of zero in on. We see brands, we know it's important, but these guys really have it down to a science. Anyone else have a question they'd like to ask James?
I'd like to ask a question. It's regarding, looking past our branding and our website, we're also thinking about, continuously keeping it out there through storytelling on social media, and being such a small organization, we don't have the people to necessarily be able to do that as much as we'd like. So I'd love to hear more about, what you're doing for organizations as far as that goes.
As far as the storytelling side, you're right.
Yeah, and social media and so forth.
So Michael says this a lot. I'll actually take a direct quote from him, and it's saying that a lot of nonprofits realize that like it's okay to stay in business or to be in business and really like run their company like a business, going past just like getting revenue like from donations and all that kind of stuff. So what we do, and because we're also a nonprofit, we are very cost effective in a lot of areas too, and we understand that there's like a lot of nonprofits out there who don't necessarily like have the the revenue, but like we're able to work with them either way. So as far as storytelling goes, one of our main goals each month is to come up with a content calendar where each week a different category of your business is highlighted. So for example, and I might actually have a visual right here. If we go back to that slide on, can everybody see my screen?
Mhm.
So if you go right over here, oh, this is an old content calendar. Yeah, so that's not gonna work. Okay. But anyway, what we do is, so there's 4 weeks in a month. We try to get to each of your services in some way, work with the client, interview the client to come up with a story for each week. And that story goes around, like I said, the synchronicity wheel, where it starts on the website, it starts on the blog, and we post that through newsletters, through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, not just yet. We're trying to figure out how to do that in some way. But yeah, the idea is to come up with 4 unique stories per client per month that highlights one of their services. So for example, for an organization like Rise, they need to get more awareness out on their day program. So our idea for one of the weeks of that month would be to come up with a story which could go anywhere in detail, from just taking what's on the website or maybe interviewing someone at the company. We could have an account person work on that. And then just trying to hit all 4 of their buckets, or all 4 of the categories or programs of that organization in a way where they get the spotlight at some point each month. So, yeah. And it helps to get awareness out about everything that they do in a way where it's constant and consistent. Like you get a new story each month about that same program.
Thanks for the question, Ruth Ann. I think almost all of us can relate to the challenge in capacity in terms of content generation and really presenting the stories to tell what we do in a timely way. And I think that's where groups like the Spirit of Huntington really come in to support our organizations. I think we've had a couple other marketers join us in past roundtables, and they've always pointed out, nonprofits are ready to go because every one of your missions is a story that moves people. It's a story that is engaging. You're not trying to come up with something like Ford or like Coca-Cola. Okay, I'm going to ingest sugar into my body and this is happiness, but that's working. You guys are saving lives and making a difference. So your stories are they're there. And so it's really, how can we crack this code of capacity and getting into this routine or habit of consistently conveying this communication. And it really sounds like what James and his team does is positioning all of us to be ready to go, so that it's the visually appealing story. It's what we're all used to seeing, and it positions you to be polished. And to Lynn's point, all of our websites are always evolving, right? Whether it's a full rehaul you need, or whether it's just tweaking it and making it an updated look and feel,
Exactly.
So much. Any other questions coming to mind? We have a few more minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
so just really quickly. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead before you lose your thought.
Oh, okay. This will just be like 15 seconds. But Michael, as he pointed out a few times during this presentation, he used to work for a marketing agency, switched over to doing Spirit of Huntington. And being somebody who's been with him like for the past 10 years, like just being in high school, coming home to do my college internships with his marketing agency, there's a big difference in marketing for nonprofits, and especially everybody here, everybody who works for these organizations. You are changing lives. You have interest in stories that people want to hear, and that's what we're all about, is getting the awareness out there. And Michael, I remember like at the old marketing agency, we were doing marketing for like an air compressor company and like a car company, and like these aren't really like the clients that we could do like really important like interest in storytelling with. So ever since switching over to doing marketing for nonprofits, everybody's got all these like interest in stories that we're really able to pick their brain on and get something really nice out of. So, that's one of the upsides of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, James. Go ahead, Amy.
So my question is, in terms of setting up a calendar, is there a set number of times you should be posting, and does that vary depending on which area you're posting, whether it's social media? Is it different between Instagram and Facebook? I know a lot of people just take one post and drop it across all their platforms. Should that be different? And what type of schedule should you set up?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question, which varies with every single client. So we aim to, for our clients who are on the synchronicity, which is the storytelling side of things, we try to get 2 to 3 posts out per week from them, which are like main stories that we have to share, like everything from like upcoming events, all that kind of stuff. So I would say about 3 times per week, we'll put out a post. That doesn't mean that the client themselves can post as well. Obviously, like it's not like you're at the mercy of our company in terms of your social media. Clients are always able to put out stuff as they please. But as far as stuff that's branded, as far as stuff that is synchronous going around the wheel, we try to like hit that about 3 times each week. And we realize that a lot of people, you'll see a lot of social media influencers, they're like, you have to post every single day. And that's very far from the truth, especially when it comes to email marketing. We notice that like when we try to put something out every single day, like people start unsubscribing because they're annoyed by how they're getting bombarded by stuff. So we try to like meter it out, do stuff that's reasonable, not only for the client, but also like within our company. So about 3 times each week, we try to get separate posts out that go across all areas and look visually different.
Awesome. Thank you. So you do change, if you're posting on Instagram, you would change it if it was then posted on LinkedIn's a different animal, but posted on Facebook.
Yes. So yeah, we try to cater to the social media platform itself and try to figure out what would look best for that. Something that's big with Instagram is that you're not able to like click links as easily. You know, the link in bio has become a really popular thing to say nowadays just because of how that works. So my team knows, and we're attentive to that kind of stuff, and we try to make it look as visually acceptable to that specific social media platform as it possibly can. So there is you know, some redesign, and we have a great team of people who will work to come up with that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great questions, Amy. I'm sure you're not alone. It takes a lot of time and effort to kind of customize your message for each platform. But if you don't do it, then the people viewing it can kind of tell that it's been just plastered across all platforms with the same content. And that, I believe, James, would have the same effect as, you know, the daily email. You just kind of become, you tune things out if you're seeing it, the exact same messaging on different platforms. So it all kind of does matter when you're thinking about the perception of your organization.
Absolutely.
All right. Any last questions for James while we have him here? All right. Well, hearing silence, we can give you a couple minutes back in your day. James, your presentation was so helpful, so engaging. We're so grateful that you guys could join us. Like I mentioned before, the Spirit of Huntington was so generous to host us when we were in person, and we had a great meeting that day. And now to be able to have you on to actually talk specifically about what you offer, your social enterprise, I think all of us who support nonprofits would love nothing more than to support a fellow nonprofit when we need these services. This is not charity. This is a genuine need for all of us in terms of our branding and our marketing. And when those things fit together so nicely, that's when I think we all really feel good about the work that we're doing, because we know we're enhancing awareness, we're enhancing brand awareness, we're so many facets of marketing and digital marketing that we can kind of tap into. So thank you so much, James. Would you like to say anything to close us out?
Yeah. So I guess the thing that I'll leave you with is, you know, our motto here is to tell stories, hence the storytelling section of our plan. So a lot of people feel like, you know, I have this story, you know, nobody wants to hear it, nobody's interested in what I have to say. And it turns out, especially when it comes to marketing, that's all that people care about. People are looking for stuff to like connect to. And I think especially like in the nonprofit world, it's really important to know that. Is that, you know, when it comes to nonprofits and charities and organizations that really make a difference in the world and within people's individual lives, your stories matter, and these are the stories that need to be publicized. So, you know, everybody's like, nobody cares about my story, you know, I'm just trying to sell this thing. But we live in a society where we've gotten really good at like not connecting with the fake. Everybody's just trying to like market stuff at you, and it's like become such a tactic. You're looking at all these billboards trying to sell you stuff. So I think I'm very privileged to be in the nonprofit community, as are all of you, in which we have the ability to, talk about the stories that matter, the stories that really make a difference in people's lives. So yeah, thank you for doing what you're doing, everybody.
Thank you so much, James. And I'll say it for Tommy as well. I know he's preparing for his next meeting. What else is new? He never stops. We love doing this every month. We hope to see you all next month. We're actually bringing someone on to talk about leadership transitions in nonprofits and really how to prepare. You know, John, you and I were talking about that the other day, succession planning, but really also the component of the transition and things to think about as new leadership is coming in, or you're preparing for a shift, or just for down the road. So you'll see information from us on email and some follow-ups about the Spirit of Huntington. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for being on this morning.
Take it easy. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.